Welcome to Confident Growth, the podcast for people who are passionate about personal growth and productivity. I'm so delighted to have with us today Yvon Bock, who is a dear friend and also an inspiration to me. She is one of Singapore's best-known entrepreneurs, and she is the founder and CEO of Hagen, which is in the business of supporting new parents from bump, birth, and beyond. And also, Yvon, you make this amazing bottle over here.
Yes, this is a baby bottle
Yes.
that starts with a child from newborn all the way to toddlerhood.
Yes.
And then like for adults, we can also carry on using it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I am right now using her water bottle and I throw it in my bag wherever I go, even expensive handbags. I am very, very trusting because I know that this does not spill. So I want to hear all about Hagen in a moment. But before we do that, I know that you have just come up with a new book.
Yes.
Extraordinary.
It's talking about my 20 years journey, becoming a stay-at-home mom, all the way transiting back to a career woman and now a world-class entrepreneur.
Wow, I think that's something that so much of our audience will really resonate with because as a woman, we go through so many transitions, right?
Yes.
And that means that in our life, we have to make a lot of powerful decisions
Yes.
that can impact everyone around us.
That's right.
What we do for our career impacts the entire ecosystem. So I'm very curious, Yvon, to ask you, start the ball rolling.
Yeah.
What made you leave your cushy corporate career and do all the things that you've done?
Impulse. No, on a serious note, right? I started in the finance industry right after graduation. And then after 4 years, becoming mom for the first time, I decided to make a new life direction change.
Right. How old were you when you became a mom?
I was 24, 25.
Wow, 2
yeah.
years younger than me.
Yeah.
Yay, we had our kids already.
Start young,
Yes, yeah.
advocate for motherhood.
Yes.
Yeah, motherhood really was the reason that I wanted to, just to hop on the stay-at-home mom bandwagon.
Yes.
Yeah, and try it out.
Yes, just like you, I was stay-at-home mom for like 6 years as well.
Wow.
Yeah, in the Australian countryside, and then was a mompreneur. But back to you. Yes, so tell me about that decision.
It was initially quite no-brainer because I really didn't want to miss out any like the first of
Yeah.
my firstborn. You know, the first words, first movement, first everything. And every day after work, I felt like, I'm missing out because he goes to bed early at 7 p.m. By the time I reach home, I only continue to see him grow on the bed, not in person, right?
Yeah.
So that decision came quite quickly. And it was the best decision then.
I like the then.
Then,
I feel
yes.
like dot, dot,
There's a
dot.
dot.
And then what happened?
Well, so initially it started off very wonderful. Whole transition was amazing. Like no more rush hour, no more traffic jam,
Yes.
no more reporting.
Yay.
It was really like the biggest liberation I had.
Yes.
And then, being able to spend time with my little loved one. Then it didn't last very long.
Right.
After a couple of months, I couldn't sustain. Why? The reason was because it started to become a routine. So I love the initial part where, anytime you call, you can
Yes.
go out for high tea, you can,
Yes.
meet up with friends. But everybody actually has their own day-to-day work
Yes.
and tasks, right? And everything. So after a while, not every friend can actually lunch with you all the time. And I started to realize I'm in a monologue at home. Like I'm
Right.
talking to my baby, and then at most maybe with my mom-in-law who visits sometimes and my helper. Then I got a little bit like, no. I need to have a little bit of change. I need
Yes.
to also continue to bring back my identity.
Yeah.
And bring back my fashion sense because
Fashion.
I was in this crumpled t-shirt every day.
Yeah.
Oily hair and
Yes.
skin is like, what fashion? Like, and so that was actually the start. Like my mom-in-law actually made a comment one day, like, Yvonne, maybe it's time to like door up, scrub up, and you want to go out together? Like, let's go shopping. Yeah.
How did you take it?
So I was actually very surprised because I didn't see the mirror. Or I didn't realize that until she told me, and I took it from a very well-intended
Yes.
angle. So like, oh, okay. yeah, it's time to make a change.
Wow.
Yes.
I can so resonate. I tell you, when I was a stay-at-home mom, I was in the Australian countryside, right? And then like my life got very small. I said my life went from so big to
Yes.
so small.
Yes.
And then I remember there was one day that I was very angry about the washing machine or something like that lah. And it was like a super big disaster
Yeah,
to me.
small matter becomes big,
thing. I
right?
made it so big. And then I called my ex-husband and was like yelling over the phone about this small thing. Then I like suddenly had this out-of-body experience where I realized that I, Crystal, have been reduced to this. And I am now making a drama out of a washing machine. What has my life become?
Yes.
And
No more identity.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think women who are very capable and all of that, at some stage, sometimes we go through this crisis, right?
Yes.
Like when we are at work, we get so much done and all of that. We got so many stakeholders. And then suddenly as a stay-at-home mom, only got one stakeholder.
Yes.
And that stakeholder is a tyrant.
Yes, absolutely. That was that whole experience I had.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. However, I still feel that, motherhood was the best thing ever in my life.
Of course.
That the whole journey was very fascinating, I would say, like from a moment, from just being a girl, becoming a mom.
Yes.
Like after you pop the baby, everyone instantly think that you're going to be like a perfect mom.
Yeah.
Right? And we have that expectation sometimes.
Yes.
Like
we put it on ourselves.
We got to know it all, do it all, everything. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, looking back, it's the most amazing change, and it made me felt so much more grounded. And also, I love kids. Actually, that's why I have 4 kids.
Yes.
Yeah, and I love children, and so when I became a mom, I knew like, yeah, this is my life goal. Like, I really want to spend more time with my kid. And
so you felt this was your calling, but you needed to, in some way, also make it work for you and your personality, right?
That's
so
right.
then when your mom-in-law kind of gave you a little bit of a push.
Yeah, a wake-up call, actually.
Wake-up call. Then what did you do after that?
So I scrubbed up, and an opportunity came. So my dad actually approached me. So my dad was equally concerned because I'm always a very bubbly, and always very sociable, going out, meeting friends. And then I start to stay at home, and then really like, very different. So he kind of like asked me, why don't you take up a course or something that you can be at home and yet you can also build like an entrepreneur, a business.
Yes.
So at that point, we were just at the beginning of our career, and Leon had to heavy lift, right? The whole household. We were staying on our own, and everything with the new kid, new house, and helper. It was quite a heavy, I would say, responsibility on my husband.
Yes.
So to ask him, permission to like really, can I like have some pocket money to go and study and something like that? It was very humbling,
Wow. Yeah.
And so my dad stepped forward and he said, you know what? Don't worry. Why don't you go do a course that you want to do? I know you like fashion. Why don't you pursue something you like, and come and part-time for me, so you get a small allowance.
Okay.
So then I have like pocket money for my own. I earn it and then I can spend it, right?
Yes.
So I thought that was a good exchange. And so that opportunity came. I took it and I went for a NAFA course in fashion design.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I didn't know this part.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you work for your dad as well as
As a part-time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was the first step. I took the course, and then he asked me next thing was like, so from here, how could you apply it and make a bigger impact or some purpose?
Yes. Your dad is like a life coach or something, is it?
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Now I look back, right? He is really a coach, and he's one of the visionary mentors that I took it for granted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm very thankful because without his nudge, right? Or that nurturing, very soft, because I am actually quite also in my way different, or I also quite egoistic, as a daughter, right? So when dad say do this, do that, you're like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna be a rebellious child.
Yeah.
So he actually took the very nurturing method and asked me question and started me thinking.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah. So I went on to the course, and with my dad's encouragement and nurturing, like really nudging me to think deeper, right? Like how can like what this course contribute to what I do in life. So I thought very deep. I'm like, I don't know, like, so he said, okay, while you're thinking, why don't you leverage my business as a platform.
Wow.
Since I have been a contract manufacturer for all the baby brands in the world, use it as like a learning ground, set your, he said that time. So he was quite forward looking, because 20 years ago, there was no e-store. The concept was a website.
Yes.
And he was like, why don't you set up a website that you can sell things? Right. So it was a very foreign concept to me altogether. Then I'm like, okay, but while you were setting it up, why don't you set the website up for me? So you have that experience, right? You learn on the job, and then you can apply it for your entire business. So I thought that was quite a good bargain, because I use it as a test bed, and then when it's successful, I can quickly apply it for my own business.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how it all started. And fast forward, right? When you put one foot into a family business, from 2 half days,
Yes.
I end up the other way around. I think I only have like 2 half days off.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say that it was a lot of filial piety, and I saw how hard my parents were working behind the scene. They always come home very happy, like, worry-free. But actually, when I noticed, when I really stepped into the business, wow, they have been so diligent and industrious that I wanted to do something to help them. So that was the beginning, or the background, the context to how slowly the conceiving of Hagen.
Wow. So like, it's only after you went to work for your dad and you realize that how he suffered to put the bread on the table.
On the table, yeah. I really have no clue. And so what my parents always shared with me is never bring work home.
Yes.
And they always walk the talk. So we never talk about work.
I see.
I never knew how hard life was. It was just happy every day. Let's eat together,
Wow. But in a way, they sheltered you.
Yes.
And then but you learn valuable lessons when suddenly like your eyes are open.
Yes. I also think that is also like my upbringing to make me a very positive person. Overly positive, some friends say. And I think that is the family culture. So they encourage me to be creative, to be carefree. So that was the childhood, the kind of like imprint I had. Yeah. And so after being in the business for a while, I realized that, wow, actually, it's a very risky business, because coming from a finance background, we always talk about contingency. We always talk about like dependency ratio. You cannot have high dependency on one client and all. Never did I know that my father was depending on 2 clients for the entire business.
Oh my goodness.
It was unbelievable. In both ways, right? In a good and a bad way.
Yeah.
And so I said, Dad, why don't you want to change this? And can I bring in more customers for you? And after a decade doing that, and going through some really huge major events, right? I thought, okay, we need to have a brand, create a brand to call our own.
Yes.
Yeah. And we need to have control over our destiny.
Love it. You empowered yourself and your dad.
Yes.
Yes.
So that was the trigger, right? But then how? What product?
Yes.
What to do? So when was Hagen conceptualized? Yeah. So that was when I became mom for the 4th time.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And it was happy news, but it almost lost me at birth.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So in the hospital, when I woke up and realized that I had a second chance in life, that was the Nirvana moment.
Wow. What happened?
I had 4 cesareans, and each one has an increased risk.
Oh dear.
Yeah, of something that might go wrong, or
Right.
they might rupture something. And so it's quantum science.
Okay.
Never focus on what you don't want. Focus
Right.
on what you want.
Yes.
Right? And I didn't know that. I didn't know about this theory, right? And so I was looking at the disclaimer. They asked you to sign off a waiver.
Yes.
And one of the pointers was a risk of rupturing your bladder during multiple cesareans. So I'm like, how is that possible? And this thought just lingered.
Oh wow.
And that was the high risk, at the surgery table.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So thankfully we had a very experienced OBGYN who managed to save me, my baby, and also my life, everything.
Wow.
So that was life-changing. And when I saw myself in the mirror, in the ward, reflect, and I saw my baby cot's reflection. That made me realize that I'm still alive. And I need to do something to pay it forward. A strange incident, right? A strange part was sometimes I joke, I'm not sure if it's the blood that was transfused during the surgery. I was a very angry person when I woke up.
Oh my goodness.
So I was literally chasing every single body off except Leon. Nobody was allowed near me. And so I was wondering why. And I think scientifically it's explained as trauma.
Yes.
So my body was going through a trauma. It was like waking up from the trauma, my reaction to it. Then when I saw the reflection, when I saw myself, I actually woke up.
Right.
Yeah, my consciousness came back. And that was when I'm like, I shouldn't be angry. I actually should be thankful and grateful.
Right.
And appreciate.
So you really managed to like tune into your higher self. It was like one of those life-changing moments that woke you up.
The 8 days in the hospital was like a recuperation. And for me to really think like, I want to pay it forward, but how? How should I do it? So by time, I am barely like coping with the baby and 3 more kids at home with the work, everything. I'm like, nah, I don't have that. And how about by donation, you know? I'm like, my disposable income is all going into all the tuition and, childcare, everything. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe not. What else? So every day I was latching my baby in the hospital. I was thinking and looking at her like, how? And then, ding, the light bulb moment, right? Hey, I'm actually quite good at this. Breastfeeding. It's quite a natural for me now.
Yes.
And how can I actually help other women like myself, a working woman who has aspiration, who wants to be both successful at home and at work?
Yes.
So that was like that light bulb moment.
Amazing. And that's why you're a board certified lactation consultant, right?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. I went on to pursue that as well. So that was the whole kickstart trigger of how Hagen was conceptualized. Yeah. And then it comes to, okay, what is the product? How is the design?
Yes.
Everything.
Yes.
So it took us 5 years. So from 2011, we continued, like we filled more than 200 times. A lot of people might not know this, but
200.
It was very humbling. It was, yes.
What do you mean by filled more than 200? Like there are 200 designs or 200 projects or what?
Prior to the current Hagen that you see, right, I had actually another concept that was inspired during my 8 days in the hospital looking at the IV drip, right? And yeah, the whole concept was leaked.
You must have been so furious.
Yeah. Honestly, at that moment, I was dumbfounded. I don't know how to react when I saw that. And it took me 9 months to recover from that. Because your first innovation, right, is your everything. So sometimes we talk about designer quotes and everything. It's true, when you put 101% into something and you thought it's going to show in, and when you totally lost it, right? Yeah. The starting over again is a very painful process. And I'm so thankful that, I had cheerleaders beside me.
Yes.
And waiting for me to just get up and start again.
So when your design was leaked, that might have been a sort of crushing moment or devastating moment for most people. Yes. But like, how on earth did you pick yourself up and then have that sort of brain wave to go in the opposite direction and come up with this amazing design?
So I always feel that everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
And everything happens for you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a gift. And instead of being upset with whoever that took the idea, I took it in my stride to say that, okay, let's do a 180. Whatever that we had, we're going to make it simpler, more practical, and more innovative.
Wow.
Yeah. And then that's where we sit down and we're like, okay, from multiple parts, can we minimize parts? From single use, how can we make it sustainable? And so all this were actually the secret sauce
Yes.
behind the current Hagen success.
So you should be thanking those people.
Yes, I actually am.
Send them a hamper at Chinese New Year. Thank you so much for taking this design. Actually, this design is much better.
Yeah.
Amazing that when life handed you lemons, you made lemonade.
Yes, yeah. When people copy you, they can copy what you are
Yes.
until you are today, but they can't copy what you are tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So we just have to continue to innovate and continue to be better every single day.
And how many units have you sold so far?
Hundreds and hundreds of millions.
Wow.
Yeah, and still growing. And that is also part of my goal of reaching out to 100 million mothers around the world.
Wow, that's amazing. I remember when we visited your office one time, you were just about to do some Tmall, this China live stream.
Yes.
And you were telling me that there could be literally like hundreds of thousands of bottles sold in this short time period.
Yes.
I was just amazed because like for a Singaporean, like, you know, we only have a few million people in our island.
Yes.
But you were one of the few Singaporeans that managed to take this business to a global scale where the stakes are high and the markets are so much bigger.
Yeah. You know, in 2016, when I just did a Tmall live event,
Yes.
being a Singaporean, I thought, okay, how big a show will it be, right? What live stream? I have never heard of a live stream. Okay, whatever, I just do it.
Yes.
And then when I saw the counter, it was 13.8 million viewers. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Seriously?
Oh my
That's like
goodness.
3 times
Three
like
Singapores.
Singapore. And I'm like, watching me in my beautiful bilingual Singapore Mandarin English rojak, you know, I'm
Amazing.
like, wow. And that moment I felt patriotic, and I was like really proud to be a Singaporean standing on that stage.
I feel patriotic just listening to it. Yeah, because it's not easy, you know, for our small nation to produce like really innovative stuff. And I think, you know, on a kind of related side note, like Singapore's traditionally not been known for its creativity and its innovation, but you know, you are somebody who I always regard as a pioneer. You don't do things like other people. Even your hair doesn't look like anyone else's hair. You know what I mean? Like you have your own style, you have your own, you know, way of doing things. What gave you this courage to be different? Have you always been this way, or is it something that you learned?
I will always bring it back to how my father brought me up. Yeah. So from small, I never had a Barbie doll in my life. And he gave me scraps and used yellow pages. Okay, maybe some of the viewers, listeners might not know it's yellow pages. But those yellow thick phone book, right?
Books, yeah.
I folded into like, you know, my paper dolls and I used those scraps on the floor and make it into bags and things like that.
Yes.
And those were my toys. Those were my imaginary friends. And that was creativity. And then courage. So whenever I face a challenge, like even, you know, those little bridge in a playground?
Yes.
Where it's a U shape, right? So my dad would actually encourage me to climb up. And then come down myself.
Right.
Those leather kind
Yes,
of like
the
a
U-shaped
bridge,
leather, yeah.
And from the start, I had this challenge of coming down. I will sit on top, like maybe 4 or 5 years old. I'll sit right on the peak, right, and start crying.
Oh,
I'm like, carry me.
it's quite tall actually.
Yeah. And he's like, try, think, you know, how can you solve this, right?
Wow.
I'm like, no, I don't want to try. And he kept trying. So of course, after one try, after I gave up the first time, he was okay. He would say, next time you try again. So he never gave up. And he continued to do that. So after a few times, I'm like, okay, I don't want to cry anymore. It's getting a bit boring. Yeah. Okay, let me think. Like, okay, how about? Then he say, have you thought of how you come up is how you go down? Then I'm like, okay. So, but don't go this way. Can you turn? I cannot. I'm gonna drop into the hole. And so he will slowly nurture me and say, slowly, hold tightly, turn. And then when I finally be able to achieve it, yeah, it was amazing.
Yes.
And so it also taught me courage.
Yes.
To try, you know, and don't be afraid of falling down. At most, you just stand up and try again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he has always been doing that to me. And then those little inherent personality or characteristic is embedded inside. So when I first launched Hagen in 2015, I didn't know that I'm going to be a nickname red hair. Red hair. In China, they call it 红发辣妈. I'm like, what? That's my nickname. Yeah. And so I didn't know that. But because...
So does it mean like red hair spicy mother?
Yes. Yeah. It's like hot mom with red hair, you know?
I love
yes,
it.
yes. It was also like the courage, right? Wanting to make sure that I don't just think different, I can be different and I can create a difference.
Yes.
And I wanted to become a global brand. So from day one, how can I, being an Asian woman, being a Singaporean, stand out among a sea of entrepreneurs around the world?
Yes.
So other than my self-branding, the product must be also innovative. So all this must come together.
Yeah.
And that's how I
love that. But
venture
it
out.
sounds like a lot of it was also having that conditioning since you were young, your dad saying, it's okay to stand out, have that courage. I'm also hearing that there was a lot of resilience that he taught you.
Yes.
Yeah, because resilience is, sometimes I say to parents that if we help our kids too much, we're robbing them.
Yes.
We're robbing them of the opportunity to learn the gift of resilience.
Yes.
And your father, in like not helping you, ironically, he helped you so much.
Yeah, I'm really thankful.
Talking about courage, a lot of our listeners, our followers, also wanted to ask you about working in a male-dominated industry. Yeah, like you said, you don't fit in, you know, you're the sort of spicy lady in the industry. And you know, you've come from project management and engineering sort of background where it's a very male-dominated field as well, especially going to China, you know, going out and seeing all the suppliers where, you know, a lot of them are men, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, do you have any advice for our listeners on how do you actually really thrive in these sort of situations as a woman?
When I first joined my dad's business, coming from a noob, you know, zero experience in the engineering background, it was extremely hard because I was judged, right? You don't know a thing, you're a sweet young girl. Yeah, how would you even like know all this hardship, the oily, heavy metal, precision engineering, you know? But actually, I took it as my leverage. I was 25. How would I know? I'm okay to not know.
Yes.
So I use it to my advantage to say, yes, I am a girl. I'm here to learn. I ask questions. Please teach me. Yeah. And when you are pleasant, you are humble, and you're really curious, you keep asking questions. Don't be proud. Like just, okay. So I keep asking similar questions to different suppliers, to different people, and started to earn my straps.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is how I overcome that kind of environment. It was challenging.
Yes.
But then I never let this stereotypical kind of a definition of a woman in a male-dominated industry define me.
I love that.
I wanted to be confident. And actually, I'm like, hey, I'm unique.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm the only girl among all these men. So then what else can I do? And I realized that I have a softer side, the empathy, that sometimes I can help a very confrontational conversation calm down. Project managers, engineers, when they all cannot agree, I will come forward and say, okay, guys, tell me what's your point of view? What's your point of view? What's your point? Okay. And then I will kind of like pull everybody together. And then I say, okay, how about we try this? This is what he meant. Because the words and the actions are different, right? So I kind of like help each other pull out their intent.
Yes.
And get things done.
You're like the mediator as well as like the person who eased the collaboration and all of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's great because like what you're essentially saying is that rather than focusing on like the what you don't have, like as a female, you really focus on like, this is great. We have unique things. We have qualities that, you know, nobody else has.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of, do you know Leila Hormozi? She's a very famous female entrepreneur, but she was talking a bit about how we are not the same as men, but there are many advantages. And one of the advantages is that women actually, generally are better at asking for help.
Yes.
And when you ask for help, in a male-dominated industry,
Yes.
the males are actually more likely to help you.
Yes.
Because they have this sense of ego, like, oh, let me show you, I want to show you something. But also they don't see you as a threat.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of times, like with each other, they may not be inclined to help out each other.
I
But
agree.
with you, you know what I mean? It's like you're not a threat, so they will
Yes.
just share with you,
Yes.
and you can learn a lot.
Yes.
Which was my experience as well in banking, because I found that a lot of guys, I was one of the few females, a lot of guys will mentor me and all of that because they're so happy. They get their
Yes.
ego fed by showing me, and then I get to learn
Yes.
something.
Yeah. So I think this is the best time to learn, to be in such a position, right, that as long as you're curious,
Yes.
as long as you're confident, you will be able to really gain out of it the whole advantage of being a woman
Yes.
in that situation. And at the same time, right, I must also say that I met many, many great male mentors, great male role models. Yeah. That so to me is not about like male versus female.
Yes.
It's really about how you could see the big picture and finding the best fit, finding the best synergy
Yes.
that can bring a total impact, a collective impact to what you're doing.
Absolutely. So I want to also ask you about leadership style, because I remember spoke to me before about your company values, and they were so unique. So if you could share a little bit, like, what do you think is your style as a leader?
My style had evolved. I started off as the on the ground, really community-like kind of leadership. I was seeking validation. I needed vote of confidence.
Yeah.
And I wanted harmony. So that was how I started. So using an analogy of a sports team,
Yeah.
I was one of the player in the field. So I needed all the team members to agree, this will be our strategy. This is going to be how we're going to go forward, right?
Yep.
It was tough. But then from working from the ground up, then nobody can say that you don't know everything. So that was also part of my learning journey. It was painful at some point. It was fun in some situations. And I also built a lot of great friendships. However, I noticed that as the company grew from a startup to now a global enterprise,
Yes.
I need to change my leadership style. I need to pull myself out from the team to become a coach. So I have to look at the big picture and set the vision, the direction, strategy, and empower my team to go achieve the goals. Yeah. And so now my leadership role has really become more of the nurturing coach. I try to, be the role model and also give them hints, and I also try not to give all the answers anymore.
You don't
even
rescue them.
Yeah, don't rescue, yes. Yeah, even though you can see, right, what's
Yes.
going on. And I learned from a great mentor, and she said, it's important to let them make mistakes, even though you know they are going to make it. Bite your lips, don't say a thing. Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, really? Even if it's going to cost you money, even it's going to cost you time? Yes. Because after that, they will be convinced and they themselves will become even better. They will level up from there on. Yeah. So I would say that I have evolved from a player, team player,
Yes.
or one of the players in the team to become the coach watching the team. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. Yvonne, in your life, you must have encountered some naysayers as well. I think everyone, regardless, male, female, whatever, we all, once we get to a certain degree of success, there's no such thing as like everyone will love you, all your employees will think you are the bee's knees and everything, but you must also encounter some negativity.
For sure.
Yeah, and when you do that, because you're such a positive person, I want to seek your advice. Like, how do you deal with the negativity or the people who talk about you?
Regardless what we do, good or bad, there will always be naysayers. How I actually get through it is I will try to decipher what is the intent behind? If the intent is to hurt, I will eliminate it. I will cut the noise. If the intent is to help, then I will try to pick up why did they say that? What exactly they want us to change or improve on? Yeah. So this is the most important point. And once we can split these two up, right? Yeah, it will be less painful.
So for you, it's really about the intention.
Yes.
So you would try to ascertain their intention.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's say if somebody made some comment like that and you didn't quite know their intention, how would you deal with it?
For sure, my reaction, my emotion will be revved up.
Yes.
My blood will boil.
Uh-huh.
That's for sure, right?
Yes.
That's the reality. But then after that, I will always look at it on the bright side. Like, hey, at least someone commented on it. Yeah, good or bad publicity is still publicity. I will always try to see the positive out of it. And then ask myself, hurt or help?
Love it.
If I know it clearly, then I will forgive the person. So I also learned something. It's great to forgive, but don't forget. So don't let this person hurt you again. So if the person try again in other methods, right, then just let it go. Don't even go that low.
So you're constantly kind of like having good boundaries and trying to figure out like how close to let certain people into your circle.
Boundary is very important.
Yeah. I want to also ask you about a little bit of your life, because like you're such a productive person. I know from morning till night, plus you're mother of 4.
Yes.
You know, it just boggles the mind how much stuff that you have to get done. I want to ask you, like, what does a typical day in the life of Yvonne look like? Like, what time do you get up? Do you do any morning routine, like yoga, meditation? What is it? Tell me everything.
Okay, I love this 20-20-20 by Robin Sharma.
Okay.
So I practice that in the morning.
Yes.
So I wake up early and then
What time?
So I started with 5 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
I was very into this
Hardcore.
5 a.m. club thing.
Yes.
And then I'm like, okay, reality bites. So I slide down to 6. And so I start every day at 6 o'clock. So we start with movement and then reflection. And then I also do prioritization. So these are things that I actually do every morning. So I'll know what are the top 5 things I want to do that day.
So you prioritize as in
I will do movement first.
Yes?
Yeah.
What kind
and
of
then,
movement?
So for me, it's some yoga stretches.
And you use like an app or program?
Yeah, YouTube.
YouTube?
Yeah, I just
Who do you
follow
like?
the YouTube instructor. It's actually, I have some private instructors that I really enjoy following. Yeah, and I just follow the movements.
Okay.
And also the music. So then after that, the reflection part is very important. So what happened yesterday and how can I make it better today? What have I done that I'm grateful for?
Yes.
So I do this reflection for 20 minutes.
Great.
And then followed by another 20 minutes of prioritization.
Okay, I love this. Double click on this prioritization. Like, how do you do this?
I see this as 4 quadrants. I prioritize based on the urgency and the importance.
Eisenhower's matrix.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
So that is always how I prioritize. And then there are definitely days of conflict, right? Like, both are equally important.
Yes.
Yeah. So I try to tell myself, like, okay, so family always comes first. So if the task has family matters involved, I will bring them up.
Yes.
And then next will be my work family. And then it will be my personal.
Right.
Yeah. So that is how I usually juggle. And it actually works out pretty well.
You know, Rachel and I were just talking about like the I Am Well journal that we're doing, and we were talking about this Eisenhower matrix as well. So for those of you who may not be familiar with the term, Eisenhower's matrix is like a system where you divide like everything on your to-do list into 4 categories as urgent and important, urgent but not important but, you know, and so forth.
Yes.
And essentially when Rachel and I were talking about the amendments to make in a journal, we were talking about like how often do we do this prioritization exercise? How often should we do this Eisenhower? And I was saying to Rachel that when I'm busy, I can even do it every day. I can do it every week. And Rachel was saying, yeah, she does it every week as well, where you're drawing like that little like cross and you're putting it into those 4 different categories. That's why we were trying to encourage everyone to use this, because it's so important, like to see where your time is going. And a lot of times we are not making space for those things that are important but not urgent. So coming to your book, right? Like for me, writing a book was important but not urgent for so long. So I push and push and push the thing, but then it was just like every year one of my goals is like write a book. Then so like what Eisenhower's matrix taught me is that those things that are important but not urgent, like getting your health checkup, like, you know, whatever, making time for your couple's vacation, like, you know, writing your book, those are actually the things that
birthdays,
anniversaries, those are the things that are super important to schedule. Yvonne, prioritization, super important. So you spend 20 minutes doing prioritization. And then do you make like a to-do list ranked by the top?
So I actually get this diary from Amazon. It's called Clever Fox. So there are different versions, but the one I choose is half hourly breakdown of every day, week by week. And so I will list down everything that I want to do that day. And then first I will box up those that are more important. And then I will highlight those that are high priorities. And if there's like must do, I will really circle it.
And do you like to stack them like so that the important ones are in the morning, or do you like them to be distributed throughout the day, or is there any kind of system?
For me, distribute out.
With like breaks in between.
So that's my way of handling the day. And then work day, that's how I actually juggle my work day. But at 6 p.m. sharp, Leon and I will leave the office and we'll go home, and then we can finish out like a debrief in the car. It's like our best meeting room.
Me too. Greg and I are always talking in the car.
Then we'll debrief, right? And then talk and wind down a little bit. And once we step out of the car, it's disconnect to connect time.
Oh, I love it.
I call it D2C. The code word is we put our handphone to go charge. And all our children will put their devices away. And then we'll spend the evening from 7 onwards to like 9 o'clock. Just spending time together, having dinner. So no phones on a dinner for sure. Then after that, we'll spend some time together as a family, and then we will disperse to do our own things.
This part is very important. The disconnect part is very important. Actually, I must say that I'm ashamed to say that actually my daughter is the one that was telling me, you need to put your phone away. Like, why are you on your phone? And sometimes like she watches TV with me and like we watch Netflix, but I'll be like on my phone as well. She'll be like, Mom, stop being such a millennial, you know? Like, why are you double screening? What is going on? But then like, you know, it's so important. I have friends who tell me that they have a basket and then they collect all of the devices and it's like outside and it's fair. So like everyone's device is outside. Ayo, I wish that, I mean, okay, growth mindset. I can be this kind of parent, but it's very, very difficult because I think I'm a little more addicted than they are. But you're so good to do that. Good boundaries.
So one of the way is to put it as a charging station. So when you plug your phone in there, then it's for sure your phone will be away from you for that period of time. So even though you're a busy entrepreneur and you've got a million things going on, it's still like when you're at home, like, don't come and look for me. Or does your staff like have any way to reach you if there's an emergency? So we have this mutual respect that I also don't want to disturb them after hours. They also don't want me to disturb them after hours. However, if there are urgent matters or there are important like events coming up that we have like some news that we want to share, you know, like the urgent news, right? We want to share, then we will actually converse via Teams. However, it's also okay if they check it the next day. So we try not to. We try our best not to.
I try to do the same with like, you know, try to put it on Slack and then use WhatsApp for those like time urgent things.
So we have moved from WhatsApp to Teams. So we know that WhatsApp, if let's say I message a colleague on WhatsApp, then it's more personal. It might be just a conversation. And then when we put it in Teams, it's work. So that's also how I kind of like change my mind. I switch, you know, like from a work mode to a personal mode.
So you and Leon, you work together as well as, you know, partners. And you have very happy, long-lasting marriage. I know you didn't anticipate this question, but I do want to say, like, ask you, do you have any quick tips, or is there like a motto that you live by when it comes to like, you know, working with your husband?
We must always be clear of our roles at that particular point of time. don't mix it. So when we are at work, for example, for me and Leon, at work, I know I'm the CEO, I'm a decision maker. So sometimes when it comes to a final arbiter, I will make the final decision and he will support me unitedly. When we get home, he's the alpha. He's the father. He's the, the head of the family.
Yes.
And if he wants to make a final decision, I will support him as a faithful wife full-heartedly.
Wow.
If we have any disagreement, usually we will have a code word to say, let's take a break.
What is the code word?
I cannot tell you.
Pineapple, banana. Is it okay? Don't tell me. But like, is it something like very random, or is it like a normal word that your kids don't know?
Normal word.
So your kids
can't
don't
tell,
know.
colleaagues can't tell.
Wow.
Yes.
So
and then we will
secret.
adjourn or we will text each other to say that I disagree and this is my opinion.
Yes.
However, if whoever that portfolio belongs to wants to go with that route, then we will take it together and move forward. But this is my opinion. And then, so we have a code word.
So sensible. Wow. It's been such a pleasure listening to all of your advice and wisdom, Yvonne. And I'm really, really excited about your upcoming book. Do you want to tell our audience a little bit more about what they can look forward to in this book?
When I wrote this book, my hope is to give more inspiration and uplifting messaging to women around the world that you can be ordinary and become extraordinary. So every day being an ordinary person can lead to you to an extraordinary life that bring you to unexpected success. So I really feel that I always wanted just to be an ordinary woman. But one thing to another, from a stay-at-home mom that led me to become led me into the family business. And then from there, step it up into a global business and then started our own brand and now become a global sensation. Like everything wasn't what I expected from day one. But then, just being consistent, pursue your dreams, manifest. And I always believe in dreaming big. I'm a daydreamer. And dreams can come true. Just manifest and you dream it as if it has already happened.
Yes.
It will happen for you.
Absolutely. Do you have like a life motto that if you had to wear a t-shirt with this on it, what would it say?
Yes. Consistently is always love what you do and do what you love.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for giving our audience so much practical wisdom, real life inspiration, and and encouragement and motivation that anyone can be extraordinary. And there is also at the same time beauty in the ordinary.
Yes, I love that. Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching Confident Growth, the podcast for people who are passionate about productivity and personal growth. We are so delighted to have spent the past hour with Yvonne, and you can buy her book at all major bookstores as well as find it on Amazon. And I'm going to post where you can find her on Instagram as well as her website in the show notes below. So please do go and check her out, follow her, like her, buy her book, do all the things, become her super fan just like me. All right, see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.